But I want to hone in on something that you had mentioned. You said a majority of those in decision-making positions are in their 40s, 50s, even 60s for many churches.
Yeah.
Would you say across America right now?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and probably not even in their 40s, mostly in 50s and often 60s and 70s, you know.
And many of these people would crave having next generational leaders, young leaders around them. I would even say many of them say they have the heart to have young leaders around them because they want the church to thrive. They want the church to survive and really step into the next wave of doing things.
Yeah.
Yet that's not always the case.
Yes.
And so what would you say, or what do you say to some of those leaders who are a little bit older and have that heart yet aren't having that success? So what are some of the keys? What are some of the skill sets?
Great question. Good job, man.
Thanks,
Great question. It's a great question. I think it comes down to two things. If I were speaking right now to the older my generation and even the boomers ahead of me, it comes down to pride and fear. And I'll just unpack that a little bit. I think on the fear side, take a senior pastor. He's been preaching 25, 30, 40 years. And then he invites the youth pastor to preach one weekend. And the church loves it. Yeah. They love the message. Yeah. They love the youth pastor. The senior pastor, who's in their 60s or 70s, starts to get some, I'll say, Facebook messages, not even Instagram or Snapchat messages, right?
And TikTok for sure.
Definitely TikTok messages about, hey, man, I'll call him Little Johnny was fantastic. You should have him preach more, right? Man. This creates a real fear. And I'm not saying this is right or justified or good. In fact, this pride and fear is bad. But I'm just saying what I see and what I think to be very real. There's a real fear with so many older senior pastors that someone's going to take their place. And it's sad because someone will take their place. It's just a matter of time.
And
right?
it needs to happen.
It needs to happen. It needs to happen. It's up to the senior pastor to either do it well or not do it well. Do it right or do it wrong. And what I would say to that senior pastor is don't be afraid. Invite Johnny up more. And when someone tells you that Johnny is great, say, yes, he is, by the grace of God. And we love Johnny. And we're going to keep giving Johnny opportunities. And feel grounded in the fact that, your identity is not in your title. Your identity, and you, Mr. Senior Pastor, I'm talking about, you've preached this message 100 times about your identity. Believe it. Like your identity is not in being the senior pastor. It's in being in Christ. Be comfortable, safe with that. And actually, if you hand the church off well, you'll be safer in your future. So much of this fear is because most pastors are not paid well. They have very little retirement, and they're concerned about quitting because who's going to pay my insurance?
What am I going to do?
What am I going to do? Who's going to hire a 65, 70-year-old guy with just pastoring skills? And I can't go work in an Amazon warehouse. I'm too old, This is a real issue. And maybe later we can circle back to some ways that we've been addressing that with our mergers, if that makes sense. But I think that's a real reason for fear. And so what I would say, this again, talking to that senior pastor, talk with your board and say, look, I want to transition the church well. Let's develop a plan and give me a long runway where I'm going to be preaching less while this person is preaching more to maintain continuity, to develop the young person.
That's really practical.
Very practical.
Talk to your board.
Talk
to the people who are above you or keep you accountable. And have them with you in tandem come up with a succession plan. Almost like, hey, how do we develop this person? Because if little Johnny's being complimented, you could either take that as a fear thing or you could take that as a celebration thing.
That's right. And what I would say now to the boards out there, if there's people on boards that are listening, is really take very good care of your senior pastor and be thinking in the way that I just described, be thinking about their future. People are living longer. How is him and his family going to be taken care of financially, their benefits, all of that, and create a really good plan for them? Because if the board creates a really great plan for them, the senior pastor is more likely to hand over willingly and more timely to young Johnny. So fear is one, and then I think the other is just pride. I know better. So many senior pastors I think have just gotten filled with, I'm the only one that can do this or should do this. And as a result, they don't release control to Johnny. And as a result, churches go down because people, they come and they visit the church, but the message isn't relevant, doesn't make sense to them as younger people, and so they leave. And so really it's about pride and fear that needs to be reconciled with the senior pastors. And then our boards across all these churches play a role in this too, like I just described. So when we get our boards straightened out and our senior pastors straightened out, we have a better chance of changing this curve to go up.
I love what you said, because often I think we're looking for the silver bullet.
Yeah.
Like, what are the 3 steps to draw young people to our church?
Yeah.
What are the 3 things I need to do? Do I need to put on a jean jacket?
Yeah.
Do I need to get a cool LED wall? Like, what's going to get young families, young people to our church and help them stay and also develop in their leadership?
Yeah.
And what you said is you got to look inward. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on inside? Is there pride? Is there fear? Is there a lack of the ability to relinquish control? And that's deep work.
It is. It takes a lot of humility. That's why I sort of pointed back to, if your identity is truly in Christ, you're not going to be as fearful about what might happen. You're not going to be as afraid as people saying, we actually like Johnny's preaching more than yours. Because you know what? That's okay. I'm not finding my identity in my preaching. I find